Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a Greek myth so dull it might just knock you out, a tale where a giant turnip somehow stops a war between gods. Picture yourself sprawled on a lumpy hillside, stars blinking lazily above the air, thick with olive scent and a faint whiff of turnip. Yeah, it's that kind of story. You're about to wander through a world of petty Olympians, confused farmers, and a vegetable with way too much power. Fair warning, you probably won't survive this without yawning. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and drop your location and local time in the comments. I'm curious where you're drifting off from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're trudging through a dusty Greek village circa 700 BCE where the sun's baking the earth like a clay pot. Goats bleat, kids chase each other, and old men grumble about taxes. Life simple, predictable, until a farmer named Cleon stumbles across something weird in his field. He's digging, cursing the rocky soil, when his spade hits something massive. Not a rock, not a root, but a turnip the size of a chariot wheel. You squint at it, half expecting it to roll away. It doesn't. It just sits there, faintly glowing, like it's mocking you. Cleon, poor guy, thinks he's struck gold. He's wrong. This turnip's no accident. Up on Olympus, the gods are already whispering about it. See, they've got a history of fighting over dumb stuff, golden apples, sacred cows, who gets the comfiest cloud. Historians still argue whether these myths were just allegories for human greed or straight-up divine soap operas. Either way, this turnip's tied to a feud older than Zeus's beard. According to one quirky tidbit, turnips were once sacred to Demeter, goddess of harvest, because they bridged earth and underworld. Bet you didn't know that at your last farmer's market. You pause, wiping sweat from your brow as Cleon drags the turnip into the village square. People gather, muttering, "Is it a gift?" A curse, some kid pokes it and swears it hummed. You're not sure if you believe him, but the air feels heavier now, like a storm's brewing. Cleon's wife, Phaedra, warns him to bury it. Nothing good comes from glowing vegetables, she says. Smart woman. But Cleon's dreaming of fame, maybe a statue in Athens. You roll your eyes, classic mortal mistake. The turnip's glow pulses softly, and you catch a faint whisper like wind through reeds. It's not your imagination. Something's waking up. You glance at the sky, half expecting Zeus to yeet a lightning bolt. He doesn't, but you know he's watching. The Greeks, by the way, were obsessed with omens, comets, weird crops, you name it. One mainstream fact, they'd consult oracles over stuff like this: burning laurel leaves to get high and hear the gods. Spoiler, it rarely ended well. You're starting to feel it too, that prickly sense of being watched. The village dogs are howling now, and the turnip's glow is brighter, casting shadows that don't quite match the shapes around you. You smirk, thinking, what's next, a talking cabbage? But deep down you're uneasy. Cleon's still grinning, oblivious, planning to haul this thing to the agora. You want to shake him, tell him to listen to Phaedra, but you're just a ghost in this story, stuck watching it unfold. As you linger, the turnip hums again, louder. A crow lands nearby, stares at you, then flies off. Creepy. You remember that one weird myth where crows were Apollo's spies? Hope he's not involved yet. The village is buzzing and word spreading fast. Soon priests, merchants, even a shady poet named Thales are sniffing around. Thales, fun fact, once fell into a well while stargazing. True story. You're tempted to laugh, but the turnip's glow is now a steady pulse, and you're pretty sure this isn't just a funky veggie. It's trouble. You take a step back, the dust clinging to your sandals. The crowd's growing and Cleon's basking in the attention. Phaedra's in the background, arms crossed, probably plotting to torch the thing. You respect her vibe. Above the stars seem dimmer, like Olympus is leaning in. Whatever this turnip is, it's not here by chance. You're caught in its pull now, just like Cleon, just like the gods. And trust me, it's only getting weirder from here. You're still in this dusty Greek village, the air thick with the scent of dry earth and that weird, tangy turnip vibe. The crowd around Cleon's giant vegetable is bigger now, buzzing with whispers and the occasional nervous laugh. You're trying to stay chill, but the turnip's faint glow is pulsing like a heartbeat, and it's giving you the creeps. Cleon's soaking up the attention, gesturing wildly as he tells everyone this turnip's his ticket to glory. You're not so sure. Up on Olympus, the gods are about to turn this whole mess into their personal reality show. You shift your weight sandals, crunching on gravel as you catch a glimpse of the sky. It's too clear, too still, like the calm before a divine tantrum. See, the Olympians are notorious for petty feuds. Take the mainstream fact, the Trojan War, a decade-long bloodbath kicked off because three goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, couldn't agree on who was prettiest. A golden apple and some bad choices later, boom, war. Historians still argue whether that story was a metaphor for political alliances or just gods being extra. Either way, you're sensing a similar vibe here. This turnip's no apple, but it's got that same let's fight over it energy. The feud starts small, as most godly dramas do. Zeus, lounging on his throne, hears about the turnip through his eagle spies. He's bored, stroking his beard, and figures this glowing veggie might be fun to mess with. Hera, his wife, overhears and immediately disagrees. It's mine, she declares, because Hera claims everything shiny like it's her birthright. You roll your eyes, typical. But then Poseidon chimes in, claiming the turnip's power belongs to the earth, which he says he controls. You're like, dude, you're the sea guy, chill. But gods don't chill. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some ancient Greeks believed turnips could ward off evil spirits if carved and left at crossroads. Bet Cleon wishes he'd done that instead of dragging this thing into the village square. You glance at the turnip again, its glow now casting faint shadows that flicker like tiny dancers. The crowd's getting rowdy and someone yells it's a sign from Demeter. Another guy swears it's Apollo's doing. You're tempted to bet on neither, but you're too busy dodging a kid who's chucking pebbles at the turnip to test it. Spoiler, it doesn't flinch. Up on Olympus, the argument's heating up. Athena, goddess of wisdom, tries to stay above the fray, but even she's curious. She's all, if this turnip's divine, it could shift the balance of power. You smirk, imagining her doing mental math on how to weaponize a vegetable. Meanwhile, Ares, the war god, is already itching to smash something. He doesn't care about the turnip, he just wants an excuse to throw spears. You're starting to see how this could spiral. One minute it's a weird crop, the next it's godly Game of Thrones. You wander closer to the turnip, the air around it oddly cool. Phaedra Cleon's wife is still hovering nearby, muttering about curses. You respect her instincts, she's the only one not buying the hype. The village priest, a sweaty guy named Eumolpus, is now chanting and waving laurel branches, claiming the turnip's a gift from the gods. You're like, buddy, you're gonna regret that. The Greeks loved their rituals, but they also had a knack for misreading signs. Like that time they thought a weird cloud meant victory, then got obliterated. Classic. The turnip hums again louder now, and you swear you hear a word, maybe Titan. It's gone before you can be sure. You're not the only one spooked. The crowd quiets, and even Cleon looks uneasy. Above, a single cloud drifts across the sky, shaped vaguely like a fist. Coincidence? Probably not. You're starting to feel like you're in one of those myths where mortals get screwed just for existing. You know, like when Pandora opened that box because she was curious. You're curious too, but you're keeping your hands to yourself. The god's spat is now a full-blown shouting match. Zeus tries to mediate, but Hera's already plotting to snag the turnip for her temples. Poseidon's threatening to flood the village just to make a point. You're tempted to laugh. Gods acting like toddlers over a vegetable is peak Olympus. But down here the stakes feel real. The turnip's glow is brighter and the ground beneath it feels soft, like it's breathing. You take a step back, wondering if Phaedra's got room in her I told you so club. Whatever's coming, you're stuck in the middle and the gods are just getting started. You're still stuck in this Greek village, the sun dipping low, painting the sky a bruised purple. The giant turnip sits in the square, its glow now a steady pulse like it's got its own heartbeat. You're trying to keep your cool, but the air's buzzing with that pre-storm static and the villagers are starting to lose it. Cleon's still playing hero, boasting about his find while Phaedra's shooting him death glares from the crowd's edge. You're with her, this turnip's bad news. Up on Olympus, the gods' feud is about to make things way messier. But down here, it's a farmer named Theron who's about to kick this story into gear. You shuffle closer to the turnip, the dirt under your sandals crunching softly. Theron, a wiry guy with a sunburned nose, is the one who found this thing. He's not like Cleon, all swagger and big dreams. Theron's quiet, the kind of guy who'd rather talk to his goats than people. He was digging in his field, muttering about a bad harvest when his spade hit the turnip. You picture him staring at it, probably thinking, why me now? He's in the square, looking like he'd sell his soul to Apollo to make this go away. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greeks relied on small-scale farming with crops like barley and olives as staples, but turnips were a fallback for poor soils. Theron's land was rocky, barely fertile, so this monster vegetable is a freak of nature. Historians still argue whether myths about magical crops were tied to fertility cults or just wishful thinking about beating famine. Either way, this turnip's no normal root. You catch a whiff of it earthy, but with a sharp, almost metallic tang. It's unsettling, like sniffing a storm cloud. Theron's not alone in his unease. The villagers are splitting into camps. Some, like Cleon, think the turnip's a divine jackpot. Others, swayed by Phaedra's warnings, want it gone. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed certain plants could summon spirits if unearthed wrong. Theron didn't exactly follow protocol. He just yanked it out. No prayers, no offerings. You're starting to think that was a bad call. The turnip's glow flickers, and you swear the ground trembles just enough to make your stomach lurch. You glance at Theron, who's muttering to himself, clutching a worn spade like it's a shield. He's not built for this. You're not either, but at least you're just a ghost in this tale, watching from the sidelines. Theron's got real skin in the game. He tries to tell the crowd he didn't ask for this, but Cleon drowns him out, waving his arms like a marketplace hustler. You roll your eyes. Cleon's the kind of guy who'd sell a cursed amulet and call it vintage. Turnip hums again, louder, and you catch that word again: Titan. It's clearer now, like a whisper from the dirt itself. You're not the only one who hears it. Theron freezes his eyes wide. Nobody else seems to notice, too busy arguing over whether to worship the turnip or chuck it into a ravine. You're tempted to grab Theron and run, but you're stuck, drawn to this glowing vegetable like a moth to a really bad idea. Up on Olympus, the gods are watching, and their feud's getting uglier. Zeus, still pretending to be the boss, suggests splitting the turnip's power. Hera laughs in his face. Sharing's not her style. Poseidon's now claiming the turnip's tied to his underground springs, which is such a stretch you almost snort. Athena's the only one keeping her head, but you can tell she's scheming. You're like, great, the goddess of wisdom's got a plan, but it's probably gonna screw over mortals like Theron. The village priest Eumolpus is back, splashing the turnip with wine and chanting louder. You're pretty sure he's making it up as he goes. The Greeks loved their rituals, but they weren't above improvising when omens got weird. Like that time they sacrificed a goat because a cloud looked like a snake. Total overkill. You're starting to feel that same chaotic energy here. The crowd's shouting, dogs are barking, and the turnip's glow is so bright it's casting shadows that twist like smoke. Theron takes a step back, his spade clattering to the ground. You feel for him. This poor farmer's just trying to survive, and now he's got a divine vegetable and a village riot on his hands. The turnip pulses again, and you're almost sure it's growing. Not much, but enough to make you question your sanity. You mutter what's next, a singing potato, but the joke feels flat. Whatever this turnip is, it's waking something up, and you're stuck watching Theron's quiet life unravel as the gods place their bets. You're still in this chaotic Greek village, the night air cooling fast, carrying the scent of olive groves and that eerie metallic tang from the giant turnip. Its glow is now a steady beacon in the square, bathing the crowd in a sickly green light. You're trying to keep your wits, but the villagers are spiraling, some praying, others shouting, and one guy's already trying to sell holy turnip chunks for a drachma. Cleon's still hogging the spotlight, but Theron, the farmer who dug this thing up, looks like he's one bad omen away from bolting. You don't blame him. The turnip's not just glowing now, it's whispering, and you're pretty sure it's not saying, "Eat me." You edge closer, the dirt under your sandals soft and warm like the ground's alive. The crowd's a mess, kids are crying. Dogs are howling, and Phaedra's still glaring at Cleon like she's plotting to bury him with the turnip. You're rooting for her. The turnip's hum is louder, weaving through the noise like a low, insistent thread. You catch that word again tighten, and it sends a shiver down your spine. The villagers don't seem to hear it, but Theron's eyes dart to the turnip, his face pale. You're like, buddy, I feel you. Here's a mainstream fact ancient Greeks often saw unusual natural events like weird crops or earthquakes as signs from the gods. They'd hold festivals or sacrifices to appease whoever was upstairs throwing a tantrum. Historians still argue whether these rituals were about faith or just crowd control. Either way, this turnip's got the village acting unwise. A quirky tidbit: some rural Greeks believed certain plants could sing if touched by moonlight. You glance at the sky, yep, the moon's out and the turnip's glow is sinking with it. Coincidence? You're not betting on it. The crowd parts as Eumolpus the priest stomps forward, waving a torch and shouting about Demeter's blessings. You're pretty sure he's just trying to stay relevant. He splashes more wine on the turnip and you wince waste of a good vintage. The turnip doesn't care. Its glow pulses brighter and the ground trembles again, just enough to make you stumble. A kid nearby giggles, thinking it's a game, but you're not laughing. You're starting to think this vegetable's got a grudge. Up on Olympus, the gods are making it worse. Zeus is still playing referee, but Hera's now claiming the turnip's a gift from Gaia, Mother Earth, meant for her alone. Poseidon's doubling down, saying it's tied to his underground rivers. You're like, guys, it's a turnip, not a trident. Athena's still scheming, whispering to herself about strategic uses. Ares predictably just wants to burn it and fight someone. You roll your eyes, same old divine dysfunction. The villagers are splitting into factions now. Cleon's got a posse chanting for a festival to honor the turnip. Others, swayed by Phaedra, want it buried before it brings a plague. Theron's caught in the middle, muttering about how he just wanted a decent harvest. You feel for him, this guy's not cut out for divine drama. You're tempted to whisper, "Run, Theron, run," but you're just a ghost here, stuck watching the chaos unfold. The turnip's whispers are clearer now, a low chant that makes your skin crawl. You catch fragments, Titan's curse, buried wrath. It's like the thing's got a backstory and it's not a happy one. You remember that quirky myth about plants holding spirits. Maybe this turnip's more than a vegetable. The Greeks loved stories of trapped gods or curses, like Prometheus chained for stealing fire. You're starting to wonder if this turnip's got a similar vibe, like it's holding something ancient and pissed off. Eumolpus is now leading a shaky hymn, but half the crowd's ignoring him. A woman nearby swears the turnip's making her dizzy. You're feeling it too, a faint hum in your bones, like standing too close to a beehive. The moonlight's brighter and the turnip's shadows are twisting into shapes that look human. You blink and they're gone. You mutter, "Okay, no more late-night myths for me, but the joke's weak. This is getting weirder by the minute." Theron takes a step toward the turnip, then stops like he's fighting some invisible pull. You're with him, this thing's trouble. The crowd's shouting drowns out the whispers, but you know they're still there, burrowing into your head. Above, a single star flickers like Olympus is winking at you. The gods' feud is about to spill over, and this village with its glowing turnip and panicking mortals is ground zero. You're stuck in the thick of it, and trust me, it's only downhill from here. You're still in this Greek village, the night air sharp with the scent of dust and that unsettling metallic tang from the giant turnip. Its glow is now a throbbing green, lighting up the square like a cheap festival lantern. The crowd's a mess, half chanting for Cleon's glory, half backing Phaedra's plan to ditch this cursed vegetable. Theron, the poor farmer who dug it up, is shrinking into the shadows, clutching his spade like it's his last friend. You're feeling the tension too, the turnip's whispers, titan wrath crawling under your skin. Up on Olympus, the gods are about to crank the drama, but down here a certain winged trickster's about to make things messier. You shift sandals, sinking into the soft dirt as a sudden breeze cuts through the crowd. It's not natural, too quick, too sly. You catch a shimmer in the air like heat rising off a sun-baked rock, and there he is. Hermes, god of thieves and messengers, slipping into the village like he's late for a heist. He's all lean limbs and cocky grin, his winged sandals barely touching the ground. You're like, oh great, the divine pickpocket's here. Hermes isn't here for fun though. Zeus sent him to scope out this turnip situation, and you know he's got his own agenda. Here's a mainstream fact: Hermes was worshipped as a protector of travelers and merchants in ancient Greece, with roadside shrines called Herms marking his turf. Historians still argue whether his trickster vibe made him a folk hero or a divine con artist. Either way, he's trouble. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks swore Hermes could make crops grow or rot with a wink. You glance at the turnip pulsing brighter as Hermes slinks closer. Coincidence? Nope. Hermes weaves through the crowd, invisible to mortals but clear as day to you. He's whistling casual, but his eyes are locked on the turnip. You're tempted to yell, "Don't touch it, dude," but you're just a ghost in this tale. The turnip's hum spikes, and you swear it knows he's here. The ground trembles, making a kid drop his bread. You smirk, bet that kid's blaming the turnip too. Hermes pauses, tilting his head like he hears the whispers. "Titan, huh?" he mutters, and you freeze. He's onto something, and it's not good. Up on Olympus, the gods are still bickering. Zeus is losing patience. Hera's threatening to curse anyone who touches her turnip, and Poseidon's now claiming it's a sea relic because... reasons. You're like Poseidon, stick to fish. Athena's still plotting, but Hermes, he's down here freelancing. You bet he's thinking of swiping the turnip for himself, maybe sell it to the highest bidder or use it to prank Ares, classic Hermes. The crowd's oblivious, but Theron's not. He's staring at the spot where Hermes stands like he senses something. You feel for him. This guy just wanted a harvest, not a divine stakeout. The turnip's glow flares and the whispers get louder, chanting Titan's curse. You're starting to piece it together. This isn't just a weird veggie. It's tied to something ancient, maybe even pre-Olympian. The Greeks loved stories of buried powers like the Titans locked in Tartarus after Zeus's coup. You're wondering if this turnip's a key to something they'd rather keep buried. Hermes circles the turnip, tossing his caduceus staff between his hands like it's a toy. He's muttering about Zeus's orders. Check it, don't steal it. You snort good luck with that. The crowd's shouting drowns out the whispers, but you catch Eumolpus the priest now claiming the turnips, a bridge to the divine. You're like, buddy, you're gonna bridge yourself to a lightning bolt. The Greeks were big on oracles, misreading signs, like when Delphi's priestess told Croesus he'd destroy a kingdom and forgot to mention it was his own. Rookie move. The turnip pulses and the ground shifts again enough to make Hermes stumble. He laughs it off, but you see his eyes narrow. He's spooked, and that's rare for the guy who once stole Apollo's cows for giggles. You're starting to feel it too, a heavy sinking dread like the air's pressing down. The moonlight's sharper and the turnip's shadows are twisting into jagged shapes like claws reaching out. You mutter, what's next? A dancing carrot, but the joke's flat. This is bad. Theron takes a step back, his spade clattering. Hermes notices smirking like he's found a pawn. You want to warn Theron, but you're stuck watching as Hermes leans closer to the turnip, his fingers twitching. The whispers spike and you catch wrath unleashed. Whatever this turnip is, it's got Hermes's attention, and that's never good. The gods' feud is about to crash into this village, and you're caught in the glow, wondering how a vegetable got this much power. You're still in this Greek village, the night air thick with tension and that sharp metallic tang from the giant turnip. Its green glow pulses like a warning, casting eerie shadows across the square. The crowd's a chaotic mix, Cleon's hyping the turnip as a divine gift. Phaedra's muttering about curses and Theron's edging toward the shadows, looking like he'd trade his farm for a one-way ticket out. You're uneasy too, the turnip's whispers tighten curse buzzing in your head like a bad dream. Hermes is still lurking, his sly grin promising trouble, but now another Olympian's about to crash the party, and she's not here to play nice. You lean against a rickety cart, the wood creaking under your weight as a warm breeze stirs the air. It's too sweet, too heavy, like roses left too long in the sun. You know that scent, it's Aphrodite, goddess of love, gliding into the village like she owns it. She's all golden hair and dangerous curves, her eyes glinting with a mix of charm and malice. You're like, oh, fantastic, the drama queen's here. Aphrodite's not just here for the vibe, she's heard about the turnip and she wants it bad. Here's a mainstream fact. Aphrodite was worshipped across Greece, often tied to fertility and beauty, with festivals like the Aphrodisia involving doves and myrtle offerings. Historians still argue whether her myths were about divine power or just glorified romance novels. Either way, she's trouble. A quirky tidbit, some Greeks believed certain plants like turnips could boost allure if blessed by her. You glance at the glowing turnip pulsing brighter as Aphrodite saunters closer. You're betting she thinks this vegetable's her next glow-up accessory. Aphrodite weaves through the crowd, invisible to mortals but glaringly obvious to you. The turnip's hum spikes and you swear it's reacting to her. The ground trembles just enough to make a nearby goat bleat and bolt. You smirk, even the livestock's done with this. Aphrodite pauses, her lips curling as she studies the turnip. Perfect, she murmurs like she's picking out a new necklace. You're tempted to shout, lady, it's a vegetable, not a crown. But you're just a ghost here, stuck watching her scheme. Up on Olympus, the gods' feud is a mess. Zeus is threatening lightning bolts, Hera's claiming the turnips her birthright, and Poseidon's still rambling about underground rivers. Hermes, meanwhile, is down here eyeing Aphrodite like she's cramping his style. You're like, buddy, you're both gonna regret this. Aphrodite's plan is simple: snag. The turnip use its power to make herself the ultimate goddess and maybe make Ares jealous for fun. You roll your eyes, classic love goddess, turning a veggie into a power grab. The crowd's oblivious, but Theron's not. He's staring at the turnip, his knuckles white around his spade. You feel for him. This guy's caught in a divine tug of war and he's got no clue. The turnip's whispers are louder now, chanting Titan's wrath like a broken record. You're starting to get it. This thing's tied to something ancient, maybe a Titan's grudge from before Zeus's reign. The Greeks loved stories of cosmic revenge, like Cronus eating his kids to stay king. You're wondering if this turnip's a leftover from that era packed with bad mojo. Aphrodite steps closer to the turnip, her fingers trailing through the air like she's already claiming it. The crowd sways, some villagers suddenly giggling or blushing for no reason. You're like, really, Aphrodite love vibes now. The Greeks were big on her influence, believing she could spark passion or chaos with a glance. Like that time she made Helen run off with Paris, kicking off the Trojan War. You're sensing a similar disaster brewing here. The turnip pulses and the ground shifts again, enough to make Cleon stumble mid-speech. He laughs it off, but you see fear in his eyes. Eumolpus the priest is still chanting now, claiming the turnip's a vessel of beauty. You mutter, sure, and I'm a satyr. The moonlight's sharper and the turnip's shadows are twisting into shapes, faces maybe, or claws. You blink and they're gone. You're starting to think this myth's gonna haunt your dreams. Theron takes a step back, his spade clattering. Aphrodite notices her smile sharpening like a blade. You want to warn him she's not above charming mortals into doing her dirty work. Hermes is watching too, his grin fading. The turnip's glow flares and the whispers spike, chanting curse unleashed. Whatever this thing is, it's drawing gods like moths, and this village is about to get burned. You're caught in the glow, wondering how Aphrodite's jealousy is gonna make this mess even worse. You're still in this Greek village, the night air heavy with the scent of dust and that sharp, otherworldly tang from the giant turnip. Its green glow throbs like a warning beacon, bathing the square in a light that makes everyone look half dead. The crowd's a powder keg, Cleon's preaching glory, Phaedra's hissing about doom, and Theron's practically a ghost himself, clutching his spade like it'll save him. You're on edge too, the turnip's whispers, Titan wrath slithering through your thoughts. Hermes is skulking nearby, Aphrodite's plotting her grab, and now the gods' petty feud is about to explode into something way uglier. You're not sure how a vegetable got this much clout, but here we are. You shift sandals, sinking into the warm dirt as a sudden heat ripples through the air like a furnace door swinging open. The crowd quiets, sensing it too. Up on Olympus, the gods' shouting match has hit a breaking point. Zeus, fed up with Hera's demands and Poseidon's nonsense, slams his fist, and you swear you feel the echo down here. The turnip pulses and the ground shakes hard enough to knock a jug off a nearby table. You smirk, bet that jug's owner is blaming Cleon. But this isn't just a tremor. It's the gods picking sides and the turnips at the heart of it. Here's a mainstream fact: ancient Greek religion often centered on appeasing gods to avoid disasters, with festivals like the Thesmophoria honoring Demeter to ensure good harvests. Historians still argue whether these rituals were spiritual or just practical deals with moody deities. Either way, this turnip's throwing a wrench in that system. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed certain crops could spark divine wars if mishandled, like a sacred olive tree that got Athens and Poseidon fighting. You glance at the turnip, its glow sinking with the moonlight. Yeah, this thing's definitely mishandled. The crowd's splitting now. Hera's faction, led by her invisible nudge, has Eumolpus chanting about queenly gifts. Poseidon's vibe is pushing some fishermen to claim the turnip for the sea. Aphrodite's charm has a few villagers swooning, muttering about beauty. Hermes, ever the wild card, is just watching, probably betting on chaos. You're like, great, it's godly factions meets village riot. The turnips hum spikes and you catch Titan's curse again, louder, like it's taunting you. Theron's eyes dart to it, his face gray. You feel for him. This guy's stuck in a divine reality show with no exit. Up on Olympus, it's all-out war. Hera's allied with Demeter, claiming the turnip's a harvest relic. Poseidon's roped in Ares, who's just happy to smash stuff. Athena's staying neutral but whispering to Zeus about strategic containment. Aphrodite's going solo, banking on her charm to steal the prize. You roll your eyes, gods acting like kids fighting over a shiny rock. But down here the stakes are real. The ground trembles again and a crack splinters through the square, stopping an inch from the turnip. You mutter, "Okay, no more turnip jokes. This is serious." The villagers panic, some running, others praying. Cleon's still shouting, but his voice cracks. Phaedra's grabbing Theron's arm, hissing, "We need to leave." You're with her, but Theron's frozen, staring at the turnip like it's calling him. The whispers are clearer now, wrath unleashed, Titan's vengeance. You're starting to get it. This turnip's tied to the Titans, the gods' old enemies, locked away after Zeus's coup. The Greeks loved stories of cosmic grudges, like Gaia birthing monsters to fight Olympus. You're betting this turnip's a ticking bomb from that era. Aphrodite's still circling, her smile sharp as she eyes the turnip. Hermes is watching her, his fingers twitching like he's itching to swipe it first. The crowd's chaos gives them cover, but the turnip's glow flares and the ground shakes again, hard enough to make you stumble. A kid nearby laughs, thinking it's a game, but you're not fooled. The Greeks were big on omens, like when a weird wind sank a fleet because someone forgot a sacrifice. You're feeling that same bad mojo here. Eumolpus is now waving a torch, claiming the turnip's divine will. You're like, buddy, you're gonna torch the village. The moonlight's harsh and the turnip's shadows are twisting into shapes, snarling faces maybe, or claws. You blink and they're gone, but your heart's racing. Theron takes a step toward the turnip, then stops like he's fighting a pull. You want to yell, "Don't do it," but you're just a ghost stuck watching as the gods' war crashes into this village. The turnip's hum is a roar now, and you know this is the moment it all goes to Hades. You're still in this Greek village, the night air crackling with tension, and that weird metallic tang from the giant turnip. Its green glow pulses like a heartbeat, bathing the square in a sickly light that makes the crowd look like ghosts. Cleon's shouting has lost its fire, Phaedra's dragging Theron towards safety, and the poor farmer's eyes are locked on the turnip like it's whispering his name. You're rattled too. The turnip's chants of Titan vengeance are louder, burrowing into your head. Hermes and Aphrodite are circling like vultures, but the gods' war has spilled over and now mortals are caught in the crossfire. You're starting to think this village is toast. You step back, sandals crunching on cracked dirt as the ground trembles again, harder this time. A nearby cart tips, spilling olives that roll like tiny marbles. You smirk, bet someone's blaming the turnip for that too. The crowd's in full panic now, some fleeing, others praying to gods who clearly aren't listening. The sky's too clear, stars too bright, like Olympus is watching this chaos unfold. Down here, the turnip's glow is a beacon, and you're feeling the weight of something ancient waking up, something the gods should have left buried. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greeks often faced divine wrath in their myths, with mortals suffering for godly disputes like the plague Apollo sent because Agamemnon ticked him off. Historians still argue whether these stories were moral lessons or just ways to explain random disasters. Either way, this village is living that nightmare. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed cursed objects like weird crops could draw divine punishment if not purified. You glance at the turnip, its hum now a low roar. Theron didn't purify Jack, and now everyone's paying for it. The crowd scatters as another quake hits, splitting the square with a jagged crack. A woman screams, clutching her kid, and you feel a pang. This isn't their fight. Cleon's still in the square, yelling about glory, but even he's sweating now. Phaedra's almost got Theron out, but he's resisting, muttering about the turnip's call. You're like, buddy, ignore it. The whispers are deafening, Titan's wrath unleashed. You're piecing it together. This turnip's a relic, maybe a Titan's trap set before Zeus locked them in Tartarus. The Greeks loved tales of cosmic payback, like Prometheus stealing fire and getting chained for it. This feels like round two. Up on Olympus, the gods are doubling down. Hera's faction is pushing for total control. Demeter at her side, claiming the turnip's hers. Poseidon and Ares are ready to wreck everything, while Athena's still playing chess, whispering to Zeus about containment. Aphrodite's ignoring them, her eyes on the turnip, and Hermes is just waiting for a chance to swipe it. You roll your eyes, gods acting like spoiled kids with nukes. But down here, the village is collateral damage. Roofs are cracking, goats are bolting, and the turnip's glow is so bright it's blinding. A house collapses nearby, sending up a cloud of dust. You cough, waving it away, and spot Eumolpus the priest still chanting like a broken record. He's waving his torch too close to a straw pile, and you mutter, "Genius set the village on fire, why not?" The Greeks were big on priests, misreading signs like when one swore a comet meant victory, then watched his city burn. You're feeling that vibe now. The turnip's shadows are twisting, snarling faces, claws, maybe wings. You blink and they're gone, but your skin's crawling. Theron stumbles, dropping his spade, and Phaedra yanks him back. You're rooting for her. She's the only one with a brain here. The crowd's thinning, but some stragglers are still praying, hoping Demeter or someone shows up. Spoiler, they won't. The turnip's hum spikes and the ground lurches, knocking you to your knees. A kid nearby laughs, thinking it's a game, but you're not fooled. This is divine-level chaos, and mortals are just pawns. Aphrodite's still circling her charm, making a few villagers act loopy, giggling amid the panic. Hermes is watching her, his grin gone. The turnip flares and the whispers chant vengeance rises. You're starting to think this thing's not just a relic, it's a weapon, and the gods' war is about to turn this village into a crater. You're caught in the glowheart pounding, wondering how anyone survives this. Spoiler, it's not looking good. You're still in this crumbling Greek village, the night air thick with dust and the sharp metallic tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow pulses like a dying star, lighting up the shattered square where panicked villagers scramble over broken carts and scattered olives. Cleon's voice is hoarse, his glory dreams fading. Phaedra's hauling Theron towards safety, but he's still glancing back at the turnip like it's got him on a leash. You're rattled, the turnip's whispers, Titan vengeance ringing in your ears like a bad omen. Hermes and Aphrodite are still lurking, but the gods' war has turned this village into a battlefield. And now you're about to learn why this cursed vegetable is such a big deal. You steady yourself, sandals slipping on cracked dirt as another quake rattles the square. A nearby wall crumbles and you dodge a falling stone, muttering, "Nice aim, Zeus." The turnip's hum is a low roar now, and its glow casts shadows that twist into snarling faces, definitely not your imagination. The crowds mostly fled, leaving only the desperate, the devout, and Cleon, who's still yelling like he's auditioning for a tragedy. Theron's frozen Phaedra's grip on him slipping. You're with her, this turnip's not worth it, but you're all trapped in its pull. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greeks believed certain objects, like relics or sacred stones, could hold divine or demonic power, often tied to myths of creation or rebellion. Historians still argue whether these stories were spiritual metaphors or ways to explain weird phenomena. A quirky tidbit, some rural Greeks thought turnips could trap spirits if grown in cursed soil. You glance at the turnip, its glow sinking with the quakes. Theron's field was rocky, half-dead, cursed soil, anyone. You're betting this thing's more than a vegetable. It's a prison for something ancient and angry. The turnip's whispers sharpen, chanting Titan's curse-buried wrath. You catch a name, Koios, a titan of intellect locked in Tartarus after Zeus's takeover. The Greeks loved stories of titans plotting revenge, like Gaia spawning Typhoeus to challenge Olympus. You're starting to see it, this turnip's a vessel grown from Koios's rage, maybe planted by Gaia herself to screw with the gods. Its power isn't just glowy vibes, it's a key to unleash something Olympus fears. You're like great, a vegetable nuke. Up on Olympus, the gods know it too. Zeus is freaking out, Hera's accusing him of hiding the truth, and Poseidon's just smashing stuff with his trident. Athena's the only one thinking straight, urging Zeus to destroy the turnip before it unravels order. Aphrodite's still down here eyeing the turnip like it's her ticket to ultimate power. Hermes is watching, his fingers twitching, bet he's thinking of snagging it for leverage. You roll your eyes, gods and their ego trips. But the village is paying the price, roofs collapsing, fires sparking, and that crack in the square widening like a hungry mouth. Eumolpus the priest is still here waving his torch and chanting about divine trials. You're like, buddy, you're gonna trial yourself into a crater. The Greeks were notorious for misreading omens, like when they thought a weird tide meant Poseidon's blessing, then lost a fleet. This feels like that, but worse. The turnip's shadows are clearer now. Coeus's face may be eyes blazing with hate. You blink and it's gone, but your heart's pounding. Theron stumbles, muttering it speaks, and Phaedra slaps his arm, hissing snap out of it. The ground lurches and you grab a broken cart to stay upright. A kid nearby drops his toy crying, and you feel a pang. These people don't deserve this. The turnip's glow flares and the whispers chant, wrath rises. You're starting to get why the gods are scared. If Coeus's power breaks free, it's game over for Olympus. The village is just collateral damage and you're stuck watching it burn. Aphrodite steps closer to the turnip, her smile dangerous. Hermes tenses, ready to pounce. You're like, guys, maybe don't poke the Titan bomb. The air's heavy like a storm's about to break. The moonlight's harsh and the turnip's hum is deafening, shaking your bones. Theron pulls free from Phaedra, taking a step toward the turnip, his eyes glassy. You want to yell, don't be the hero, but you're just a ghost caught in this chaos. The gods' war is about to hit a new low, and this village with its cursed turnip and terrified mortals is ground zero. You're bracing for impact, knowing this is where the myth gets really ugly. You're still in this wrecked Greek village, the night air choked with dust and the biting metallic tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow throbs like a wound, lighting up the shattered square where broken carts and scattered olives lie like battle scars. Most villagers have fled, but Cleon's still here muttering about fame while Phaedra's wrestling Theron away from the turnip's pull. The poor farmer's eyes are glazed, drawn to the vegetable like it's singing his name. You're on edge, the turnip's whispers tighten Coeus, clawing at your mind. Hermes and Aphrodite are circling, but now a new player's stepping in, and she's got a plan to turn this chaos into checkmate. You brace against a cracked wall, sandals slipping on loose dirt as a cool breeze cuts through the heat. It's sharp like a blade and carries the scent of olive wood and wisdom. You know that vibe, Athena, goddess of strategy, materializing in the square with a glint in her gray eyes. She's all armor and focus, her owl perched on her shoulder, staring at the turnip like it's a puzzle. You're like, finally someone with a brain. But Athena's not here to save the village. She's here to outsmart Ares and shut this Titan nonsense down. Here's a mainstream fact. Athena was revered in ancient Greece as the goddess of wisdom and war, with cities like Athens building temples like the Parthenon in her honor. Historians still argue whether her myths were about rational strategy or just glorified power grabs. A quirky tidbit, some Greeks believed owls, her sacred animal, could spot cursed objects in the dark. You glance at Athena's owl, its eyes locked on the turnip. Yeah, it knows this thing's bad news, and so does she. Athena strides toward the turnip, ignoring the chaos-crumbling walls, flickering fires, and Eumolpus still waving his torch like a madman. The turnip's hum spikes and the ground quakes, knocking a nearby jug into the dirt. You smirk, bet that jug's cursing Cleon's name. Athena doesn't flinch. She's studying the turnip, muttering about Titan containment. You're starting to get her plan. She wants to use the turnip's power against Ares, who's itching to escalate this war. It's risky, like juggling lightning bolts, but that's Athena's style. Up on Olympus, the gods are a mess. Zeus is threatening to smite everyone, Hera's accusing Athena of treason, and Poseidon's just flooding random coasts for fun. Ares is rallying his war dogs, ready to burn the village to ash. Aphrodite's still down here, her charm making a few stragglers swoon, while Hermes is watching Athena like she's stealing his thunder. You roll your eyes, gods acting like toddlers with divine powers. But the village is paying roofs, caving livestock, bolting, and that crack in the square now wide enough to swallow a goat. The turnip's whispers are deafening, Koios' wrath unleashed. You're piecing it together. This vegetable is a titan's trap grown from cursed soil to free Koios' power. The Greeks loved stories of divine prisons like Pandora's box spilling chaos. This turnip's the same vibe, and Athena knows it. She's planning to channel its energy to stun Ares, maybe trap him in a stalemate. You're like bold, but this village is screwed either way. Theron stumbles closer to the turnip, Phaedra's grip slipping. You want to yell, "Stay back," but you're just a ghost here. Eumolpus is still chanting, claiming the turnip's a trial of valor. You mutter, "Buddy, you're trialing yourself into oblivion." The Greeks were big on misreading signs, like when they thought a weird bird meant victory, then lost a war. This feels like that, but worse. The turnip's shadows are sharper, Koios' face, snarling eyes like voids. You blink and it's gone, but your heart's racing. Athena's owl hoots and she nods like they're plotting together. You're starting to think she's the only one who can handle this, but at what cost? The ground lurches and you grab the wall to stay upright. Aphrodite glares at Athena, her charm faltering. Hermes is tense, his fingers twitching, bet he's rethinking his heist. The turnip flares, its glow blinding, and the whispers chant vengeance rises. Theron breaks free, stumbling toward it, muttering it calls. Phaedra's screaming now, and you feel a pang. These mortals don't deserve this. Athena's eyes narrow, she's running out of time. The gods' war is about to peak, and this village with its cursed turnip and desperate souls is her chessboard. You're caught in the glow, bracing for her next move. You're still in this broken Greek village, the night air thick with smoke and the sharp metallic tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow pulses like a fever, lighting up the ruined square where shattered pottery and trampled olives litter the ground. Phaedra's screaming at Theron, who's stumbling toward the turnip like a moth to a flame, while Cleon's slumped against a wall, his glory dreams in tatters. You're rattled, the turnip's whispers, Koios vengeance thrumming in your bones. Athena's in the square, her owl glaring at the turnip, but Hermes and Aphrodite are still here, and now the gods' war is exploding into a full-blown showdown. You're starting to think this village is just collateral damage in a cosmic grudge match. You grip a splintered beam sandal, slipping on dusty rubble as a hot wind howls through the square. The sky's a live cloud, swirling lightning, flickering like Zeus is losing his temper. The turnip's hum is a deafening roar, and its glow casts shadows that twist into titan shapes, Koios' snarling face, claws reaching. You're like, okay, this veggie's officially terrifying. The ground quakes, splitting the crack in the square wider, and a nearby fire flares, licking at a fallen roof. You smirk that Eumolpus is still chanting through this apocalypse. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greek myths often depicted gods fighting over divine artifacts like the Aegis or ambrosia, with mortals caught in the fallout. Historians still argue whether these stories were about cosmic order or just divine ego trips. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed certain plants could channel Titan energy if grown in sacred groves. You glance at the turnip, its glow sinking with the lightning. Theron's field wasn't a grove, but it was cursed enough to birth this monster. You're betting Coeus's rage is fueling it, ready to bust out. The square's a battlefield now. Athena's facing off with an invisible Ares who's materialized in a blaze of red light, his spear gleaming. You're like, great, the war god's here to make it worse. Aphrodite's charm is fading, her eyes darting between the turnip and Athena. Hermes is perched on a broken cart, grinning like he's betting on the chaos. The turnip flares and the whispers chant wrath unleashed. You're piecing it together. This thing's a Titan bomb, and Athena's trying to defuse it before Ares sets it off. But the village is burning, houses collapsing, screams echoing, and that crack in the ground swallowing a stray goat. Up on Olympus, it's pandemonium. Zeus is hurling lightning, Hera's cursing Athena's plan, and Poseidon's flooding random valleys to help. Demeter's siding with Hera, claiming the turnips her domain. You roll your eyes, gods acting like kids fighting over a toy, but with world-ending stakes. Down here, Athena's dodging Ares' spear, her shield flashing as she maneuvers toward the turnip. Her owl hoots and she mutters about redirecting the curse. You're like, bold, but this place is toast. Theron's closer to the turnip now, ignoring Phaedra's pleas. His eyes are glassy like Coeus is whispering straight to him. You want to yell snap out of it, but you're just a ghost stuck in this chaos. The Greeks were big on mortals getting screwed by divine plans, like when Odysseus pissed off Poseidon and spent 10 years lost at sea. This feels like that, but worse. Eumolpus is somehow still here, his torch guttering as he chants about glory. You mutter, buddy, your glory's gonna be a crater. The turnip's shadows are solid now. Coeus's form, towering eyes blazing with hate. You blink and it's gone, but your skin's crawling. Athena lunges her spear, grazing the turnip, and the ground lurches, knocking everyone down. Ares roars, charging her, and their clash sends sparks flying. Aphrodite steps back, her charm useless, while Hermes laughs like it's a show. You're starting to think Athena's plan using the turnip to trap Ares might backfire, freeing Coeus instead. The village is a wreck and you're caught in the glowheart, pounding. A lightning bolt cracks nearby, shattering a tree. You duck, cursing Zeus is not helping. Theron's hand brushes the turnip and the whispers spike, chanting vengeance rises. Phaedra screams, tackling him, but it's too late. The glow's blinding and the ground's shaking like it's ready to split. Athena's eyes meet the turnip's core and you see her hesitate just for a second. The gods' showdown is peaking, and this village with its cursed turnip and desperate mortals is the breaking point. You're bracing for the worst, knowing this myth's about to get uglier. You're still in this shattered Greek village, the night air thick with ash and the biting metallic tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow pulses like a dying heart, lighting up the ravaged square where broken beams and scattered olives lie amid flickering fires. Phaedra's wrestling Theron away from the turnip, his hands still trembling from its touch, while Cleon slumped in the dirt, his dreams of fame burned out. You're rattled, the turnip's whispers, Caius' vengeance roaring in your head like a storm. Athena's locked in a clash with Ares, Hermes, and Aphrodite are circling, and the gods' war has turned this village into a crucible. But now a mortal's about to do something crazy with that cursed vegetable. You cling to a crumbling wall, sandals slipping on ash-strewn dirt as lightning cracks overhead, painting the sky in jagged white. The turnip's hum is deafening, its glow so vestige of a glow that's almost blinding. A figure darts from the shadows, a young woman barely more than a girl with fierce eyes and a tattered cloak. You're like, who's this? Her name's Lysandra, a goat herd's daughter, unnoticed until now. She's gripping a sickle, her knuckles white, and she's staring at the turnip like it personally insulted her goats. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greeks often cast mortals as unlikely heroes in myths like Theseus slaying the Minotaur, showing human grit against divine odds. Historians still argue whether these tales were meant to inspire or warn against hubris. A quirky tidbit, some Greeks believed women, especially virgins, could wield sacred power in rituals like the Pythia at Delphi. Lysandra's no priestess, but there's something about her. Maybe it's the way she glares at the turnip that feels like destiny. The square's a war zone. Athena's dodging Ares' spear, her shield sparking as she edges toward the turnip. Coeus' shadow looms in its glow, snarling claws outstretched. You're starting to think this titan's about to break free. Lysandra moves fast, weaving through the chaos past Eumolpus, still chanting like a broken lyre, and Cleon muttering in the dirt. She's got a plan, and you're betting it's not worship the vegetable. Up on Olympus, the gods are losing it. Zeus's lightning scorches the horizon, Hera's cursing Athena's gambit, and Poseidon's flooding half of Greece for no reason. Aphrodite's charm has shot her eyes, darting to Lysandra, while Hermes grins like he's taking bets. You roll your eyes, gods acting like they're at a divine cage match. But down here, the village is rubble houses gone, fires raging, that crack in the square now a chasm. Lysandra reaches the turnip, her sickle raised. The whispers scream, Coeus rises, and the ground lurches, knocking Ares off balance. Athena seizes the moment, her spear grazing the turnip, and its glow flares, blinding. You're like bad move wisdom, lady. But Lysandra doesn't hesitate. She swings her sickle, slicing into the turnip's side. A pulse of green light erupts, and the whispers cut off like a cord snapped. The ground stills. You're stunned. Did this kid just save the day? The Greeks love stories of mortals defying gods like Prometheus stealing fire. Lysandra's cut doesn't destroy the turnip. It's still glowing, leaking a faint mist. But it's weakened, Coeus' shadow fading. Athena freezes her eyes on Lysandra while Ares roars, charging. Hermes laughs, and Aphrodite looks pissed, like someone stole her spotlight. You're rooting for Lysandra, but you're worried she's just painted a target on her back. Eumolpus stumbles forward, torch guttering, claiming Lysandra's blessed. You mutter, buddy, you're late to the party. The Greeks were big on misreading heroes, like when they hailed Oedipus as a savior, then exiled him. This feels like that, but messier. Theron's shaking off his Transphydra at his side, both staring at Lysandra like she's a goddess. You feel for them this village is done and they're caught in the myth. The Turnip's mist swirls and you catch a faint whisper, "Not over." Your heart sinks. Coas isn't gone, just caged again. Lysandra stands tall, sickle dripping green sap, but her eyes are wide like she knows she's not done. Athena nods at her, a rare respect, while Ares retreats, cursing. The gods' war pauses, but you're bracing for round two. This village, with its broken souls and glowing turnip, is still in the crosshairs. You're still in this shattered Greek village, the night air heavy with ash, and the fading metallic tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow has dimmed, leaking a faint mist where Lysandra's sickle sliced it, but it's still pulsing like a heart refusing to quit. The square is a wreck, crumbled walls, smoldering fires, and that chasm splitting the ground like a scar. Phaedra's holding Theron, who's shaking off the turnip's trance, while Cleon slumped in the dirt, muttering about lost glory. You're rattled. The turnip's whispers chaos not over, echoing softly like a threat on hold. Athena's eyeing Lysandra with respect. Ares has backed off, and Hermes and Aphrodite are sulking, but the gods' war isn't done. Now Olympus is about to call a grudging truce, and you're wondering if this village will survive it. You lean against a charred beam, sandals crunching on broken pottery as the sky calms, lightning fading to a distant flicker. The turnip's mist swirls, catching moonlight, and you swear you see Coas's shadow flicker weaker but still there. Lysandra stands by the turnip, her sickle dripping green sap, her fierce eyes scanning the square. You're like, "Kid, you're a legend, but maybe run." She's just turned this divine mess into a stalemate, and the gods aren't exactly fans of mortal heroics. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greek myths often ended with uneasy truces, like the gods splitting power after the Titanomachy, leaving mortals to clean up the mess. Historians still argue whether these stories reflected political deals or just divine dysfunction. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed sacred objects like cursed crops could force gods to negotiate if wounded in ritual. You glance at the turnip, its gash still oozing mist. Lysandra's cut wasn't ritual, but it's done something, maybe caged Coas's wrath for now. Up on Olympus, the gods are reeling. Zeus, embarrassed by the near-Titan breakout, calls a council. Hera's fuming, claiming the turnip's her right. Poseidon's grumbling about land disputes, and Demeter's insisting it's a harvest relic. Athena, calm as ever, argues for sharing the turnip's power to keep Coas locked down. Ares, still smarting from his retreat, reluctantly agrees nobody wants a Titan sequel. Aphrodite and Hermes, outplayed, sulk but nod. You roll your eyes, gods acting like they've solved world hunger when they've just trashed a village. Down here the square's quiet, save for crackling fires and distant sobs. Eumolpus the priest is finally silent, his torch out, staring at Lysandra like she's a prophecy. You mutter, "Buddy, you're useless now." The Greeks were big on priests claiming credit after the fact, like when Delphi's oracle spun a loss as fate. This feels like that, but Lysandra's no pawn. She's wiping her sickle, ignoring the stares from Theron and Phaedra, who's whispering thanks. You feel for them. This village is rubble, and they're stuck in a myth nobody asked for. The turnip's hum softens, its glow steady but weaker. The mist forms faint shapes Koyos's eyes may be watching. You're starting to get it. Lysandra's cut didn't kill the curse. It just bought time. The god's truce is fragile, a deal to split the turnip's power and bury it somewhere safe, maybe a sacred grove or Poseidon's soggy backyard. You're like great plan until Hermes steals it. The Greeks loved stories of temporary peace like the Olympic truce halting wars for games. This feels shakier with Koyos's wrath still simmering. Athena approaches Lysandra, her owl hooting softly. She doesn't speak, just nods like she's passing a torch. Lysandra doesn't flinch, but her shoulders sag. She knows this isn't over. The god's presence fades. Hermes vanishes with a smirk, Aphrodite with a huff, and the square feels emptier but heavier. The turnip's mist curls around Lysandra's feet, and you catch a whisper not over. Your heart sinks. This truce is a bandage on a titan-sized wound. A breeze clears the smoke, and you spot stars peeking through the clouds. The village is a husk, but Lysandra's standing tall, Theron and Phaedra at her side. Cleon staggers off, probably to write a bad poem about this. You smirk, bet it'll flop. The turnip's glow dims further, but its presence lingers like a sleeping beast. The god's truce holds for now, but you're bracing for the fallout. This village with its broken souls and scarred earth is proof that even a turnip can shake Olympus. You're still in this broken Greek village, the night air cooler now laced with ash, and the faint fading tang of the giant turnip. Its green glow is a dull flicker, leaking mist from Lysandra's sickle cut, casting weak shadows across the ruined square. Crumbled walls, charred beams, and that jagged chasm in the ground mark the god's war, now paused by a shaky truce. Lysandra stands by the turnip, her sickle at her side, while Phaedra and Theron huddle nearby, shell-shocked but alive. Cleon's gone, probably sulking somewhere, and Eumolpus is silent, his priestly nonsense finally spent. You're uneasy. The turnip's whispers chaos, not over a soft hum in your mind. The gods have backed off, but their truce is flimsy, and now you're tracing the turnip's strange legacy as it fades into mortal memory. You shift sandals, crunching on scattered olives as a gentle breeze clears the smoke. The stars are brighter, like they're reclaiming the sky from Zeus's tantrum. The turnip's mist curls lazily, no longer forming Koyos's snarling face, but you're not fooled, it's still a threat, just sleeping. Lysandra wipes her brow, her fierce eyes scanning the square like she's waiting for round two. You're like, kid, you've earned a nap, but I get it. She's a hero now, whether she wants it or not, and this village will never forget her. Here's a mainstream fact: ancient Greeks wove myths into their culture through festivals and oral tales like the Panathenea, honoring Athena with storytelling and games. Historians still argue whether these rituals preserved history or just fueled civic pride. A quirky tidbit: some rural Greeks held harvest rites for odd crops, believing they carried divine echoes. You glance at the turnip, its glow nearly gone. This village might start a festival for Lysandra's feet, or maybe they'll just burn every turnip in sight. You wouldn't blame them. The village is quiet, save for crackling embers and a distant goat bleating. Survivors are creeping back, picking through rubble, whispering about Lysandra and the cursed root. Theron's muttering about rebuilding Phaedra, nodding, but their eyes keep darting to the turnip. You feel for them. This place is a husk, but it's home. The god's truce has left the turnip in mortal hands to be buried or hidden, maybe in a grove guarded by Athena's owls. You're like good luck keeping Hermes out. The Greeks loved tales of sacred relics like the Palladium statue protecting Troy until it didn't. This feels like that, but earthier. Lysandra kneels by the turnip, her sickle resting on her lap. The mist brushes her hand, and you catch a faint whisper not over. Your stomach twists. Coeus's wrath is dormant, not dead. The gods plan to split the turnip's power and lock it away. Sounds neat, but you're betting on leaks. Olympus isn't known for follow-through. Remember that time they secured Pandora's box, then oops, chaos. You're starting to see the turnip's legacy, a story of mortal grit, divine screw-ups, and a vegetable that shook the heavens. The villagers start gathering, some bowing to Lysandra, others eyeing the turnip like it might bite. A woman offers Lysandra a worn cloak, a quiet thanks. You smirk, bet Cleon's jealous somewhere writing his flop poem. The Greeks were big on honoring heroes with small gestures like wreaths or songs. But they also forgot fast, like with poor Icarus. Lysandra's tale might live on in festivals, maybe a turnip night where kids carve roots and scare each other with Titan stories. You're hoping they skip the glowing part. The turnip's hum is barely audible, its mist thinning. You're wondering if it'll vanish or just wait like a seed biding its time. The gods are gone. Athena's nod to Lysandra was her exit, and Hermes and Aphrodite slipped away like sore losers. But their truce feels like a shaky bridge, and this village is still scarred. Theron and Phaedra join Lysandra, helping her drag the turnip toward a cart. It's lighter now, less ominous, but you're not betting on peace. The moonlight softens and the stars seem to wink like they know something you don't. A kid runs up offering Lysandra a cracked bowl, cute, but you're thinking, kid, she needs a vacation. The turnip's legacy is taking root not just here, but in every whispered tale of mortals defying gods. You're caught in the quiet, the village's wounds raw but healing. The gods' war is on pause, but Coeus's whisper lingers, and you're left wondering if this is really the end. You're still in this battered Greek village, the night air soft now, carrying only a faint whiff of ash, and the barest trace of the giant turnip's metallic tang. Its green glow is nearly gone, a weak flicker from the gash Lysandra's sickle left its mist dissolving into the moonlight. The square is a ghost of itself, crumbled stone-charred wood, and that chasm in the ground like a wound that won't heal. Lysandra stands tall, her sickle at her side, as Theron and Phaedra help load the turnip onto a creaking cart. Cleon's long gone, probably rhyming his failure in some tavern, and Eumolpus is silent, his torch cold. You're weary, the turnip's final whispers Coeus not over, fading like a dream. The god's truce holds, but the turnip's tale is settling into myth, and you're watching it take root under the stars. You ease onto a broken bench, sandals brushing soft dirt as the village hums with quiet life. Survivors sift through rubble, sharing bread and hushed stories of Lysandra's courage. The stars are sharp like they're listening, and the turnip's mist curls one last time, barely visible. Lysandra ties the cart's ropes, her face calm but tired, like she knows the weight of her new legend. You're like, kid, you've earned a break, but myths don't sleep. Her act slicing the turnip to cage course's wrath has bound this village to a story bigger than its ruins. Here's a mainstream fact. Ancient Greeks passed myths through oral tradition with bards like Homer weaving tales that shaped identity and faith. Historians still argue whether these stories were history's shadow or pure fiction. A quirky tidbit, some villages held omen feasts to honor strange events like weird crops, believing they tied mortals to the divine. You glance at the turnip, its glow a memory. This village might start a rite for Lysandra, maybe carving turnips each spring to mock the gods. You toast to that. The cart creaks as Theron pulls it toward the village edge, Phaedra at his side, their steps steady despite the scars. The turnips to be buried maybe in a grove, Athena blessed far from Hermes' sticky fingers. You're like, good luck, the trickster's probably plotting already. The Greeks loved stories of hidden relics like the golden fleece guarded by a dragon. This turnip's no fleece, but its power, Coeus's caged rage, makes it just as dangerous. You're betting some poet will sing of it, though they'll probably spice it up with a talking goat. A girl runs up offering Lysandra a woven bracelet, her eyes wide with awe. You smirk, bet Cleon's choking on his wine somewhere. The village is knitting itself back together, its people tougher than the gods' egos. The turnip's hum is gone, but its presence lingers in every glance at Lysandra, every whispered tale of the night a vegetable stopped a war. You're starting to see its legacy, not just a story, but a reminder that mortals can outshine Olympus even with something as dumb as a turnip. The moonlight bathes the square, softening the ruins. You lean back, the bench creaking, and let the night's calm sink in. The gods are silent, their truce a fragile thread, but for now the village breathes. Lysandra climbs onto the cart, her sickle glinting, ready to guard the turnip's burial. Theron and Phaedra follow, their faces lit with quiet hope. You're caught in the moment, the stars above like a promise of rest. But Chaos's last whisper not over, hovers a shadow on the edge of sleep. You're drifting now, the village fading into a soft blur, its broken stones and brave souls slipping into the haze of memory. The night wraps around you, cool and gentle like a blanket woven from moonlight. The turnip's glow is gone, its whispers silenced, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl, Athena's quiet sentinel. You're lying back, the stars above spinning tales of their own, each pinprick of light a story of mortals and gods, of courage and chaos. Lysandra's face lingers in your mind, her sickle flashing a spark against the dark. The village will heal its people, carving new paths through the rubble, their laughter rising like smoke. You're safe here, cradled in the night's embrace, the world slowing as your breaths deepen. Let the gods bicker, let the turnip sleep, none of it matters now. The stars are your canopy, their glow a lullaby, pulling you gently toward dreams. Rest easy, traveler. The myth is done and peace is yours.